Hello everyone. Today we'll learn about the three orders, a key part of understanding medieval Europe. Let's begin with an overview of medieval Europe. After the Roman Empire's collapse, Germanic groups occupied regions of Italy, Spain, and France. Christianity survived Rome's fall and spread to Central and Northern Europe, becoming a major landholder and political power. Social organization became centered on land control, drawing features from both Roman traditions and German customs. Now let's introduce feudalism. Feudalism refers to the economic, legal, political, and social relationships in medieval Europe. The word comes from the German term feud, meaning a piece of land. It was based on the relationship between lords and peasants. Peasants cultivated both their own land and the lord's land. In return, lords provided military protection and held judicial control over the peasants. So, feudalism was not just about economics, it extended to social and political life. Now let's compare France and England. France, formerly known as Gaul, was a Roman province. From the 6th century, it was ruled by Frankish or French Christian kings. The French monarchy had strong links with the Church, especially when the Pope crowned Charlemagne as Holy Roman Emperor in 800. In England, the island was conquered in the 11th century by a duke from Normandy in France, who introduced feudal systems similar to those in France. Now, let's understand the concept of the three orders. According to French priests, society was divided into three orders based on people's work. The first order, clergy, those who pray. The second order, nobility, those who fight. The third order, peasantry, those who work. This division was reinforced by religious figures like Abbess Hildegard of Bingen, who emphasized the need for social distinctions. Let's now focus on the second order, the nobility. Nobles were vassals of the king, bound by mutual promises of protection and loyalty. They enjoyed privileges, absolute control over their property, the power to raise troops, hold courts, and even mint their own coins. Under the manorial system, nobles owned large estates, which included their homes, private fields, and the dwellings of tenant peasants. What did a manorial estate include? A lord's estate had his manor house, controlled villages, fields, woodlands, and a church. It was self-sufficient, with craftsmen maintaining tools and buildings. Castles provided protection and later served as political centers. Now let's look at knighthood. Frequent wars made cavalry and skilled warriors important. Knights received fiefs, pieces of land, in return for military service. They spent time daily in training and practicing combat. Minstrels sang about brave kings and knights, spreading chivalric ideals. Next, the first order, the clergy. The Catholic Church owned land, levied taxes, and had its own laws, independent of kings. It was led by the Pope in Rome, with bishops and clerics guiding Christians across Europe. The church received a tenth of the peasants' produce and accepted donations from the rich. Its ceremonies often mirrored feudal customs. For example, kneeling in prayer resembled a knight's oath of loyalty. Let's talk about monasteries and abbeys. These religious communities were established in isolated places like St. Benedict's in Italy, 529, and Cluny in Burgundy, 910. Monks and nuns took vows of lifelong dedication to prayer, study, and manual labor. Over time, monasteries became large communities with schools, colleges, and hospitals. They contributed to the arts. Figures like Abbess Hildegard developed music and community singing. However, by the 14th century, people began questioning monastic life. Works like Langland's Piers Plowman and Chaucer's Canterbury Tales criticized monastic luxury. Let's look at the church and society. Christian festivals like Christmas and Easter became important, often replacing older pagan festivals. Villages became parishes under a priest's supervision. Traditional land tours continued as religious processions. Many Christians went on pilgrimages to shrines of martyrs or important churches. At the same time, Europeans held on to old magic and folk traditions, which blended with Christianity. Now, let's talk about the third order, peasants, both free and unfree. Free peasants held farms as tenants of the Lord. They owed military service, paid taxes, and performed unpaid labor on the Lord's estate. Serfs, on the other hand, cultivated Lord-owned plots. They gave a large portion of their produce to the Lord, couldn't leave the estate without permission, and were subject to the Lord's monopolies and decisions. Let's explore England's feudal development. In the pre-Norman era, Angles and Saxons settled in England in the 6th century, giving the country its name. In the Norman conquest of 1066, William, Duke of Normandy, defeated the Saxon king and introduced feudalism. He redistributed land to 180 Norman nobles, creating a new feudal hierarchy. Now we move to factors affecting social and economic relations. These included environmental changes like shifts in climate and forest coverage, agricultural technology with improved tools and farming methods, land use changes like new cultivation patterns, and social dynamics as relationships between lords and vassals evolved. Though the system appeared stable, these processes were transforming medieval society. Let's focus on the environment. Vast forests covered most of Europe from the 5th to the 10th centuries, limiting farmland. A cold spell until the 11th century caused harsh winters and poor crops. But from the 11th century, a warming period extended the growing season. Forests receded, and new land was cleared for farming. In terms of land use, early agriculture was tough. Farmers used wooden plows and oxen, and the two-field system exhausted soil. Lords forced peasants to cultivate all land, but peasants resisted by focusing on their own plots and avoiding extra duties. Disputes also arose over pasture and forest rights. Peasants saw them as communal, while lords claimed them as private property. Then came new agricultural technology. Iron-tipped plows and mold boards allowed deeper tilling. Better harnessing systems improved efficiency. Windmills and watermills powered grain processing. The three-field system replaced the old two-field method, increasing output. Now we ask, was there a fourth order? Yes, with the rise of towns and townspeople. Better farming meant agricultural surplus, and population grew from 42 million in 1000 to 73 million in 1300. Markets and fairs grew into towns, offering economic opportunities. Guilds emerged, regulating trade and production. Let's not forget cathedral towns. Cathedrals were massive stone structures that took years to complete. Cathedrals were built for acoustics, and their stained glass windows told biblical stories. Towns often developed around them, becoming economic and cultural centers. But the 14th century brought crisis. Colder summers reduced crops. Soil exhaustion and overgrazing led to famines. Silver shortages disrupted trade. And the Black Death, a bubonic plague, killed about 20% of Europe's population between 1347 to 1350. These led to labor shortages and rising wages. With this came social unrest. In 1323, peasants in Flanders revolted. In 1358, France saw the Jacquerie Revolt. In 1381, the English peasants' revolt broke out. Though most were defeated, these revolts weakened feudalism and supported the money economy. Finally, let's look at political changes. Kings like Louis XI, Maximilian, Henry VII, and Isabella and Ferdinand strengthened royal power. They built stronger armies and hired professional soldiers. New military strategies like using infantry and siege artillery helped overcome aristocratic resistance. Centralization and taxation increased. Monarchs expanded their armies and frontiers. The nobility transformed, no longer opponents, they became loyal administrators in a modified form of feudalism. And that brings us to the end. The three orders shaped medieval European society, but over time, environmental change, agricultural advances, urban growth, and political reforms brought about a transformation, leading toward the early modern world. We hope that you have understood the topic. To watch more videos and study effectively, check out the Edurev app and website.